Hi sweeties, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about a very special topic, and when I say special, it's not because it's unique, but it's because my Instagram followers actually chose this topic for me. So today we are going to be talking about Produce 101 series and why I have not finished any of them. I would like to make a disclaimer because I have not finished all of the Produce 101 series. I'm mainly going to talk about the series as a whole and the concept as a whole and why I feel like it's just completely unwatchable. And yeah, we're going to get to that. I'm going to try and make this video under 10 minutes, so bear with me. And I did write notes, so if I look down at my phone, it's because of that. The first reason why I feel like Produce is just unwatchable is because the idea is stupid. When I say that, I try and say that in the nicest way possible. It's because when you think about it, so you have trainees coming from different companies, and they all come together. They work their butts off for months to then be hopefully selected into like the top 10 or top 11. And then the contract is only for 1 year. 1 year of promotions. Just one. I feel like the amount of work that they have to do throughout the show and the amount of crap they have to go through, and I mean that by physically, mentally, and then they have people editing them in a way that might tarnish their reputation forever. They also have the fact that they have to be against people who often have privileges, which I will talk about later, and then only to sign a contract for a year, and then have to go back to being a trainee. It's just not worth it. It's like the amount of work that they put in is not worth the prize that they get at the end. And yeah, that's the first point. And then the second point, which was I was talking about privileges, is that a lot of the times it seems as though the people who are chosen for the final lineup end up debuting very fast after. So it kind of seems pre-calculated, and what I mean by that, it seems like the trainees who sign up for the show are already destined to debut before and knowingly are going to debut after Produce. So it seems like they're planning to promote themselves via Produce pre-debut, and I think that's really upsetting, and it gives the trainees who are actually there and don't have pre-planned debuts, and puts them on a really high disadvantage. And it's really sad to see that a lot of the trainees who really don't have a future after this show don't get a chance to shine like they should. I do have I do have my proofs. I actually did do some research. So here's the numbers that I have, okay? So, you know Sejong from Gugudan, she debuted 2 months after the final episode of the first season of Produce 101. And let's think about this. Realistically, would it really take only 2 months to to create a song, film a music video, record, and then have to go on live stages and practice in 2 months? Can a whole group really debut in 2 months? Most groups take about a year to plan everything out, especially a debut, because that is a very big moment in the group's whole entire history. And I also have another one that I thought was fishy. So Chungha, she released her first pre-single 3 months after Produce disbanded. Only 3 months after they disbanded. And I know that while they're in Produce, oftentimes they do have time to promote with their actual companies, but 3 months still seems very short to have your first single. It seems very short and kind of sketch. I don't know, it feels sketchy to me. I have one more. So, forgive me if I say this wrong, but Kyo Kyung from Pristin, she debuted 2 months after IOI disbanded. 2 months. Only 2 months. I know, like, again, there's no way. I fail to believe that she was with Produce while also having to practice for Pristin. Like, she didn't know she was going to get into Pristin. She was just like, oh yeah, they just decided to add her in 2 months before debut. No way. No way. I will not believe it. So that's kind of what I mean by real trainees. Real trainees are at a disadvantage because they aren't able, like, a lot of people on the show, there's like 50 contestants a lot of times, and they don't get a chance to debut ever. It's like they go onto the show and they disappear, and you never hear from them again. And then you have girls like these who I love them and they're super talented, but it just seems like it was already pre-planned. And because Mnet has had some scandals in the past with vote manipulation. If you want to hear about that, you can go ahead and look that up. There was a whole investigation on it. It kind of makes me question whether or not Chungha and Sejong and Kyokyung and so many others in the final lineups of this show were actually legitimate and weren't pre-planned. Not saying they're not talented, but I'm not sure if the voters actually chose those people for the final lineup. And that kind of goes into my third reason for produce. They're just sketchy. Like, I feel like people were so shocked when it was found out that Mnet manipulated the votes for X1, the group that came out, and that they disbanded very early. But I knew since the first season of Produce that something wasn't right. There's many different companies all coming under Mnet and all, you know, having this whole series and this whole television show going on, and yet it seems like the same type of people keep getting into these final lineups. It just didn't seem right. It seemed sketchy to me, and I don't get it. It feels like it wasn't really meant for trainees, true trainees, people who were not already set to debut. It wasn't giving chance to trainees, you know, the underdogs. I'm always about wanting to support the underdogs, and it wasn't giving the chances to them that I feel like they deserved. And then let's see, what was the other one? Oh, okay, so I also have proof from this as well. So Chaeyeon, you know Chaeyeon, she was in Produce. She was dismissed from Dia to join Produce. I don't get it. Like, why would a show that's about creating a new idol group from trainees then allow someone who's already in a group to participate? That same thing happened with what's his name from Woosok from Newest. He was also in a Produce series. Why would they add him into a Produce series if he's already a part of a group, and this show is about promoting trainees? He's not a trainee. He debuted. He's an idol, but he still participated and competed against trainees, which is another thing that's like, it doesn't make sense. It's just sketchy because it's not fair. Obviously, if you have an idol member participate in a contest with trainees, people who are unknown, of course the idol member is going to win. It doesn't matter how talented somebody is, they're going to win no matter what. And I mean, it seems like common sense, but the series was still allowed to go on despite the fact that there was multiple people who were already a part of groups who participated. It stresses me out. And I mean, I love shows like The Unit. Unit is a really good example of how they could have included people who have already debuted, because The Unit is going, all of these people have already debuted as idols before, and they're all competing against each other. So there's no disadvantage. They're all equally qualified and all have settled fan bases already prior to the show. But when you have someone who has a fan base already, someone who doesn't have a fan base, and then you have fans decide who wins, obviously the person who has the higher fan base is gonna win. Like, do people not understand numbers? I don't understand where the confusion comes in. Like, where's the confusion coming in? I don't see it. And I would like to say that I love all of these participants. They are all talented in their own rights. And I would like to say that season 2 did do a better job of including actual trainees instead of people who were already pre-debut or seemed to be planning to debut, because a lot of the final lineup did not debut right after their formed group disbanded. So season 2 definitely did a better job. I did not watch Produce 48. I wasn't interested, and then by the time the group that formed X1 I was just overproduced. I was just didn't want to entertain it anymore. After season 1 and season 2, it all really felt rigged, and then season 3 kind of felt like a cop-out. And yeah, I honestly wish all the trainees the best, but I didn't watch, I didn't participate in that. I love the idea of Produce, right? And how we could have made Produce better is simply, hear me out, you get trainees from their, okay, how do I explain this? So, let's say JYP did it with 16, right? So JYP, the company, chose trainees to compete to form a group that lasts, a group that stays, and TWICE is one of the most popular K-pop groups now, it of the 4th generation. And why didn't Mnet use this opportunity to to show different companies? So, of course, JYP could form its own, they have the money to form their own, what are they called? Survival series. But a lot of these smaller companies don't have that money, like Top Media, for example. So what Top Media could have worked with Mnet to create a survival series with just Top Media trainees. And if that wasn't possible, if they did want to include multiple trainees in this survival show, they should be actual trainees, not people who are about to debut in 6 months after the show ends, not people who have already debuted, people who are actual trainees, people who are training and have not been put into a group yet. Those are the people that they should have added into the show. And of course, they should have not tinkered with the votes. I mean, obviously that's wrong. They should have allowed voters to actually vote and not have to pay to vote. They should be able to vote. It should be truly feel like the public is forming this group. I think that is very good, and that would appeal to a lot of people, especially international fans who don't get to participate in a lot of K-pop groups and having to form and having to vote. And the best way that Produce could have just made themselves better and they could have been such a good show is to not do false editing, and they shouldn't have tried to make it a reality show. They should have just been natural. I feel like a lot of people would have truly enjoyed it better if they were more authentic and allowed trainees to really share their own stories and to allow trainees to really get a chance for fame and stardom like they deserve. And yeah, that is the end of my video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and if you have any other ideas for K-pop topics you want to hear from me in the future, please let me know down in the comments. If you would like, please join the Sweetie family. We are halfway until our first major milestone. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.